Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
In a health teaching, you said that the soul of the man leaves the body at the exact moment that she must go.
Yes.
This moment, I didn't understand what you're saying about it. You said in a teaching that is beyond your imagination.
You see,
if you could say about it, thank you very much.
Yes. Go back to the matter state. Maybe you understand better. In the matter state, the strength of the field of a magnet dictates its positioning. When you put two magnets next to each other, they create a distance gap, what we call magnetic gravitational field position. If you put a winding around one of the magnets, you can do it if you understand how to do it, and increase the flow of the fields in one of the magnets, you will see maybe the other magnets come slightly closer or move further. And you can reach to a position by creating these kind of magnetic fields, which is done for some military purposes, some industrial purposes, that the other magnet literally shoots up without doing anything to it. It becomes a trajectory. We see it in the slaughterhouses in a different shape, like a bullet, but it's releasing and attracting. Now, your solar physicality becomes that winding. And your soul becomes the other magnet. But in this case, the solar physicality has given its energy to the soul. So now the soul is energized. And when the point comes that the soul of the man's energy surpasses the blood flow cage, it takes off. And in taking off, what happens? The physicality stays behind, but the soul has gone. Point of death. Why most of us die at the old age? If you can keep the circulation of the blood and the energy levels of your body at a strength that does not come low than controlling the cage of the field of the soul, you do not die. You can extend your life. The minute the soul of the man receives more energy as part of the information, emotion, and whatever else, and the cage becomes rusty and weak, the soul has nothing to hold it. It becomes the point of death. So our aging is by circulating less blood, feeding the soul more from the soul of physicality and dimension of emotion and whatever energy, it becomes more powerful and it jumps, it creates that, it becomes that bullet to a new position, breaks through the weak cage, which is rusty, which is the old age of the man, the blood cannot hold the circulation that is strong, then you die. Because the soul is gone, physicality stays behind. It's escapism for the soul of the man. We escape from it. We become good in doing it, and in that process, we interact, we increase, we add to it by expansion of strength. And that's how the death comes. Physical separation of the soul of the man from soul of physicality. But you got to understand, the minute this process starts, which the soul of physicality becomes slowly aware that is losing control to the soul of the man, it transfers most of the energies which are within it, within the soul of the man, within the soul of physicality of man, and the physical energy of the body of the man to the soul of the man. So it suddenly receives a rapid field energy because it's aware, the blood flow is weak, and then the soul departs. It becomes that bullet. But that bullet, through its interaction with field strength, has already destined for a position for it to find its balance. And then in that position, it becomes, because it has no physical structure, soul physicality with it partially, it becomes a star. And that star starts a new life as in a galaxy, in the universe, as it does in the world of the creation. In a way, you created a soul shooting star, and you have to see if it has enough at the point of arrival that it becomes the source, it becomes the beginning of the new cycle for the soul. The whole purpose of creation is to create new essence of creation, which is another star, which is the soul of the man, but not within the physicality of the man, but in another dimension. And doesn't matter how long you keep this together, you can always play it one against the other or one within the other, that you live everlasting life of the Creator. I made man in the image of myself because I become the man that within it, having connection with me, I keep total integrity and totality of integral fields of what I started with, so I don't lose anything. And this is the secret of creation. It's the secret of life in the dimension of the existence. As the Arab says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. This is it. This is the final, as we understand the beauty of the Creator. All the beauties are given, and there is no more. It's you who have to understand how beautiful it is. As all the beauties, Rahmat, which is the kindness, the love of Creator, is already given. It's us who have to understand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the milestone 600th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 24th, 2025. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be your host once again here today in this weekly series of ongoing workshops continuously for 599 workshops so far, and here we are into number 600. Congratulations, Mr. Keshe, for both of us making it this far, and it's been a lot of teaching in that time period. Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you as usual. We welcome you to the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute teachings, the 600th one, and so many before and after it, which will come and it's been there. It's a position where we have to carry on with what we started with, the time and position of time. And as we enter research development and other phases of the development of the technology for the human race and beyond, it is time to open doors into the next step. That when we get there, as usually maybe in 50 sessions, 100 sessions or whatever, we are ready. We have a record of it. We know what is to come. As usual, today's session has the backup of our systems in the unit, and we try to change situations and we manipulate the strength of your communication or energy or whatever, as we've seen the last time. We become very good at it. We can target it. We can align it. We have taken pictures beforehand, before even the session starts, and we'll see how you perform, what elevation you get and what you understand, and what have you discovered in past few couple of weeks that we actually wire you up to the creator in a very direct way. We've seen you aligning the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man, more or less centralized to one line, which we never had before, which shows we are connecting you to a lot of things. We're getting a lot of feedback, how you change, how things have changed, how even within hours, within days, situation between you, your family, yourself personally, and everything else has changed, has moved. The position with this teaching and time is that we create the elevation of the energies of the inner sectors of the man. Then it's you who decides how to distribute. It's you who decides how to manipulate through your, what you call subconscious, what is actually the work of the soul. As I said, man has found many, many names to cover his ignorance, to cover his lack of knowledge, and to cover what he cannot understand, but is still tries to explain there is something there. Enlightenment comes from the dimension of the, what we call, connection between the soul of the man and what we call true emotion, and what we call possession. When we use the emotion, when we increase the energy in the dimension of the field of the universe within the soul, we create a new time. In a way, from past few minutes you joined in, because the systems are already locked in, you have, your soul timing has changed compared before when you come in. Because you are receiving energies, which changes through the emotion, the magnetic field, the package in motion of your dimension. And in that way, we are in a way playing with the time which you physically have. We change the time which you have on the energy side, because we are entering directly as an energy outside. We are that cosmic ray which you receive 80% of. Now we are feeding that 80% into. You receive a higher order, which you never received before. If let's say the human race is bracketed at 100, and there is another 10,000 to go, now all your knowledge seekers are receiving in 120, 140, which means you see an insight. You become elevated to the dimension of your own energy. We made it available. And to make it available, we have to be in the bandwidth field strength of you. So in the past 2 or 3 sessions, your time zone, your time in the dimension of the physicality, your time zone in the dimension of the energy has changed. Inevitably has changed. There is no doubt about it. In a systematic way, as you are receiving higher bandwidth, you become more conscious of your emotions. Unknowingly, you do things. In a way, instead of going through the evolution of the physicality, we are putting you through evolution of the soul, evolution of the energy part of the existence, which we denied. And with this, as the soul is the feeder of physicality, we create a new times. Maybe up to last week or 2 or 3 weeks ago, before you joined these sessions of past 2 weeks and today especially, you never enjoyed something before. You never thought of something, doing something before. And now you do it and say, oh, at your age, you're doing this, you're doing that. Because the time has changed. You have maybe increased your timeline of life, but another 10 years, 2 years, 5 days. Because the distribution of the fields, what you could not receive now is given to your soul. And through the energy of the, what I call time of the energy, is received by the body of the man. So in a way, we are changing, we are bringing a new evolution in the energy side. We are feeding what the soul had access to, but it could never, in a way, convert it to the soul. You'll see changes in yourself. It's not coincidental. How come it couldn't happen in past 50 years? You've been around, or 20 years you've been around. And suddenly has started in past 2 or 3 weeks, or from today on. Because past 2 weeks you didn't have the field of strength which was given. It's a different field of strength today. We change the position and we see how you move. You change your dimension of the understanding. So we are changing, in even today's session, your timeline. We are not interfering. We're making it available. If you're looking for a new enlightenment in the dimension that will change the dimension of physicality, understanding of the life, now it's available. Evolution of the soul. New timeline. In a way, delaying the position of the separation of the half-life of the man. And this process can be extended to such a length that you can live eternity. You never die. You cannot die. Because in essence, you're directly connected to universal energy, universal timeline. And this is part of the teaching of today. You have an earthly timeline, as we talked before. Now you're entering levels of the solar system, the timeline of the galaxy, the timeline of the universe. And step by step, in the background, we're increasing the strength for you to be able to meet that timeline. Some of you, in the past 2 weeks, maybe in the coming weeks, as we extend the process, we have now start creating and making available to the energy side of the life, might have extended your life by 10, 20, 30 years, maybe by 100 years. You do not know till you get there. Oh, I lived 130, 140 years. Go back to 2025 when I received it. In the coming time, when these dimensions changes, we can actually measure it through the length, life cycle, energy cycle of the cell of the body of the man. You will see the reconstruction of the brain, because now what was matter state important now is in the hand of the energy state. We call it consciousness. We don't become conscious of it. It becomes available to us. We become aware of it. Now, in the session today, we are playing a very, very beautiful game where you all know what it is. You know the systems are on. So you have made yourself ready to receive. Many of you have seen the change of you in emotion, interaction with your family, interaction with yourself, interaction with the environment in past 2 weeks. We see it, we read it as you tell us. Addictions have gone, attachments have gone, and there's more peace, because the elevation of the soul of the man, the timeline of that has been changed. We have brought in a line, in the line of the connection to universal line of energies to you in a very specific way. We launch it, we watch it, we monitor it, and we see how you change. Our team in the background continuously watching exactly what happens, exactly how you change. We have monitored it before, we have registered it before. Now we, in a way, observe it in how you, as knowledge seekers, the elevation of the soul, the change of the condition in your soul has taken place. And how you, as individuals and a group, sit to see, to understand, and to be there. And in a way to understand it and to be part of it. What will happen if we change one parameter? What happens if we have a look at understanding of the totality of it? What happens if we change the dimension of the field strength? The elevation of the soul of the man, which changes the emotion of the man, which in turn changes the, what we call the dimension of the possession, is one of the games which man can play. And when you get to a position, through connection to the energy, you can fix the time. I'm here now on the moon. So the time is fixed. You hold the position to have a certain energy. The place and the position need and is fixed as a moon. Now there's one thing can change: your position. Your place is fixed, you're on the moon. We have locked the time. We have blocked the energy of the, what we call is your possession. So you still carry the soul of the man. You still have the dimension of intellect, memories of the man, but you're on the moon. You cannot be a man anymore, because the position which was figure of the man on the moon cannot exist, but the energies exist. Time is locked, emotion is locked. You're received directly through your headset or whatever, the energy which fixes the enlightenment and what we call intellect. So you manifest yourself as a new creature, which can live in a position and the, what we call the place. Man needs to understand this on technology. Man needs to progress to understand how to do it. In the dimension of physicality, you change your breathing, you change position of your lung, you change your food. Have you ever thought why you take your food and it kills you? Man calls it a poison, but man has never looked at it as an energy which brings a balance to the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. Kapung. Death is not by, in a way, switching things off. That poison brings a new energy. It brings a new dimension to the soul of physicality. It's like the point you wait when you're 80, 90, 100 to reach that point. That what you call a poison is actually freedom of the soul of the man. It brings the energy so high that it brings the energy of the soul of physicality in a balance with the condition of the separation with the soul of the man, that they separate. And you call it the cause of death by poisoning. But in fact, if you look at it scientifically, with the knowledge of the universe, you have put too much energy in. In that energy, you create a new timeline. And that timeline matches the timeline of the soul. Voila. Separation, half-life. We do that in nuclear reactors. We target it when we bombard it with new energy and it spreads and creates a new half-life. We call it a nuclear physicist, but it's all the same word, the same cycle. So next time you see somebody dying of the poisoning, somebody comes to that position, understand they change the time of the energy of the position. So when you change the position, you change the timeline, you bring in a new game. Then we understand, even for poisons, we can create a new timeline that it never matches the timeline of half-life of the man with the soul. Then you understand why you even create anti-poisons. You drain, you change, you transfer energy back to. Because at the end of it, a poison is still the energy pack, is nothing else. Is the dimension which brings the soul of the man to a new timeline. And if you understand this, then you understand why in your transmutation you cannot take that channels of poison, which is don't allowing your, in a way, place or your position to change where the energy sits in the dimension of the position. You create the end of the line for the place. You change and dimension of the position. Place cannot change, you're on the moon. So you manifest yourself as a new creature which can stand the place, which still carries the memories, the emotion of the man as a position. So you manifest yourself. The timeline cannot change because it's the soul which has brought the physicality to the point. You change to a new creature, which can have no choice. It hasn't been given a choice, but to become the man of the moon, the Mars, or any place in the universe. You heard the word of reptilians they come up with and they try to explain things, mutation of man. Now you understand the physical scientific process of it. In the systems we have developed, we can do that. We cannot create a death because we pass the energy to the soul. Soul decides a new point of manifestation. But when we transfer you to the moon, the place is fixed. The position is the only thing which is going to go, or the position. We are fixing the position. You're going to land as a man. You die. It's the poison. Energy cannot match. Timeline does not fit. You're holding the timeline in balance with the timeline of the energy. So what's going to happen to you? Voila. A position appears. You might manifest yourself as a creature crawling 10 meters under the ground on the moon, because that is where the balance with the others exists. We know this. As scientists, we know this for the first time. Many, many research developments tell us there are civilization beneath us, as we've seen the civilization above us by NASA pictures. These are not beings that were on the earth and they went under, they carved themselves away. No, they created a new place. And that place has such a gravitational magnetic field, 50 meter, 100 meter, 2 meter, whatever below the surface is where they manifested themselves as a position. And as the amino acid and the magnetic field of this planet conditions 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 head parts and whatever, they look humans, but they never lived on the surface. They don't need to, because the surface of the earth kills them. So when man now is intellectually developing and finding, in a way, other lives underneath them in the different layers of this planet or in the span of the universe, now you understand is the timeline which is matched. So the position has to change. Manifestation of new creation, manifestation of the new understanding of a life in that layer. Now you understand why the worms live under, why some animals have to be underground, why some animals live in the depth of the ocean where physically to our present knowledge was not available, was impossible. They match what we call the condition of the timeline, and then they match the condition of what we call the place, and the position manifests itself as a creature. Then even you understand why dinosaurs cannot exist in the condition of today, because the timeline has moved. We cannot bring the magnetic field energy balances of the what we call maybe 1 million kilometers or 10 million kilometers, where the field of strength created the condition of the position of the dinosaur, because the position is the same, the soul is the same, surface is the same, the place is earth. So there is one thing left. The position has to change. And why suddenly the dinosaurs, for example, disappeared, a meteorite hit? It would have happened as the earth comes closer, the timeline fixes. The position has to change because the place cannot change. It's centrally dictated when it was created. The question is, whose soul, what creature's soul made the seed for the structure of the sun that it led to the creation of the solar system? Sun it hasn't appeared just to be there. We accepted it as we worship the skies and the fire. But now we have the intellect. We have to understand that what we call the soul, what we call the creator of our creation, must have been, has come from another soul created somewhere in the universe, that he found his position at the place where our solar system sits today. Did it come from this galaxy? And are we the manifestation of his soul? In a way, the creator of our soul is the soul of another soul, which led to our creation and became the seed. And this is the job of our soul when we pass. We become another seed, another star. There is no hypocrisy about the creation, unless because of the lack of our intellect, we decide to accept that position. In a way, I made man in the image of myself. Are we the image of the soul which created the solar system, the sun, and that dictates the position? Is this why we have to change the man? Because we've seen the mistakes of the soul of the past, which is not created sufficient enough energy to take from the universe, that has created the condition that we kill for. Now you understand. All these killings we suffer from came from a soul which started this solar system because it was misguided. It did not provide everything. Why does this repeat again with the Venus? Why does it again repeat with the Mars? Because there is a lack of a structure in the center of the soul of the stars of it. And this is why the systems we develop is to change that position. Now, when your soul leaves, when the souls leave this planet at the point of, you call it death, such a mistake will not be made in the universe again. But the question to ask is, which universe, where this soul came from, which led to the creation of our sun, which creates this mayhem, that there's a civilization that came from? Or was it the accident of soul arriving, receiving extra energy, and that's what we became? Or lost some of his energy, and that's what we came? Or in the balance with this environment, it created that condition. If you notice, well, as I said before, especially with the Chinese, the Italians, Brazilians, you went out, and some of you still do, feed the earth with gas water. You're changing that condition. You're creating, in a way, a spread of the energies that the community, the environment changes, that the new, what we call a timeline is created, that affects at the level of the energies of the emotion of the man, behavior of the man, and changing the man. Those of you who put gallons and gallons of water in the rivers, the seas, the fountains, and you spread your cities, and you still, some of you do, carry on, because you are creating a new timeline for humanity. We do that with our teaching. You do that with physically bringing that change in the position and the dimension, which affects, it brings, and changes. So, in a way, part of the teaching, especially in past 2 weeks and today, tells you that we are reaching a new timeline for your energy, for your inner sanctums, for your understanding, and for the distribution of the fields of the universe. Just 1 second, please. We are working on new lots in the background, and the data comes in. We have to see how things set, and I'll explain to you why. We see very much alignment on the dimension of the soul. We see very much alignment in the dimension of creation. And we need to understand how these conditions come from. In a way, while I go quiet, I'm tampering with your energies. We are changing things in the background, and as is live, and we have only one control system, we try to see how you feel, how we can change things, and what we see from the observation of the data which you come. What is interesting to us is how we have centralized the position of the soul of physicality, which means it changes your emotion. At this moment of time, many of you might feel different emotions. And it's more in a dimension of the positive life as we see it on our graphs, and it's more in the dimension of interaction of the soul and soul of physicality. Hunger is getting fed, enlightenment is getting created. We see it as a graph. Later on, we show it to you. As I said, we have connected it, we can even go live to it, but we prefer to analyze the data outside. So, in understanding the totality, in understanding the position and the possession, then we see we become good in creating a new dimension. When you bring energies the way we are doing now, in a way we are feeding you. In a way, goes back to the teaching of the past, which I always said. When you take an apple, it's not the apple that you eat. That apple is the seed in the energy which creates in your body, in your intestine, that allows the stronger field of universe to feed you, to bring that 80% in. Now with this process, we are doing that, but instead of feeding you with the energy of an apple, we are feeding the soul. We're making it available that if it's hungry, we'll take it, because up to now it didn't have. In the evolution of the science of the man in a physical dimension, we see every element on this planet within the structure of the body of the man. Zinc, copper, oxygen, uranium, gold. Because as man takes from the earth, new elements come in, but it doesn't get rid of it. It finds a new solution how to use it, make it more efficient. Now we do the same thing, but this time we make it available to the central energy, what we call the soul of the man, which changes the dimension of intellect. It changes the dimension of the what we call enlightenment. Enlightenment is being able to use, which changes the emotion. That emotion is connection between the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality of the man, which through it would change the physicality of the man. What is interesting, I hope you have taken some selfies in past few weeks, and take some more selfies in the next few weeks, and see what you see changes in the feature of your physicality. Do you look longer? Do you look much happier? Has the lines on your forehead, the frowning and the rest is gone? Have some lines on your face have disappeared, or there are more lines in the face? Then you understand that as we change the time, the cell structure changes, you look younger. Because now you receive an energy which has never been available to the physical dimension of the man. Now is available to the soul of the man, which transfers it to the physicality of the man, changing a timeline. You used to look 40, now you look 30. Now you can see timeline change. This is why to teach you about the time, that you can assess, you can see, you can manipulate the condition of, in a way, rejuvenation of life through the soul of physicality, through understanding the comprehension of the totality of the work of the man and nothing else. Maybe now you understand how we're playing with time, why we teach about the time. You want to look always 18, fresh, and behave like an 18-year-old, not an 80-year-old. How can we increase, elevate, and change the dimension of the intellect that we change the dimension of the what we call enlightenment, that it keeps the same timeline but changes the emotion, that by changing the emotion we change the timeline, that there is no change but for what they call position and a position to change. Do you understand what it means, the fountain of youth? The fountain of youth comes through this energy, not through just makeups. It's what you take up from the soul, which counts what you make up as a feature. Do you look happier? Has your position and perspective about the future has changed? Have you seen changes in your family condition and your interaction with them? Because now that you're enlightened, you still radiate, they receive. Oh, something happened, changed, the family changes. I feel different about it because it's contagious, it's connected. Their soul is connected to your soul. You get enlightened, you change the emotion, you change their emotion. In a tomorrow session, we'll do something fantastic to all of you who participate. I bring such a change, and I want to see how you lot emotionally change and emotionally feel the change and touch the emotion of the soul. And in the next 3-month sessions, we play communication, transmutation that does not matter where you land, you'll be happy. This is the cause of the 90% of the killing, because you're not content, you try to find something else. Contentness, happiness. And tomorrow we play that contentness game with you. And interesting enough, I want to see how many of you change in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then we play other games that you start learning how to transmute. The game of the transmutation through space mass transmutation has started. But we have to fine-tune it. We have to see how you lot, as what are called paid guinea pig, behave, react, change. Some of you write to me that I have finished with my addiction. I did just after the session of last week. I have stopped things I used to do. I have reached other people. The other people have behavior has changed towards me, because now you are what the earth was missing to feed you, what did not come from the sun. Now you're receiving through the teaching in the energy level, in a way that we connect you to universal fields, bypassing the earth and the sun and the shortcoming. Enlightenment. Enlightenment brings happiness. Always, I always love the Chinese proverb. Suffering makes a man think. Thinking makes a man wise. Wisdom makes a man rich. We are giving that wisdom, that you feel the richness, not in the pocket, but in the essence of the elevation of the soul of them. It is our job, this is our responsibility to do this as the universal teachers. We have to, and we continue to do so. Now you understand how much the little teaching started some 600 lessons before was said to bring to mature, to teach, because these teachings are added step by step. Each one of you, each siblings of you, each offsprings of you, present and in the future, your great-grandchildren, and the children which become the children of Mitra in the space, will learn the teaching of 600 plus. It's become part of the knowledge of the soul, the enlightenment through the energy, through knowledge. Man has to understand where to draw the line and what is the next step. What is in it for me is finished. What I can do to give, to be part of, begins. Enlightenment through the dimension of the soul, through the dimension of understanding, through knowing exactly where and how we are. It will be interesting to see how you knowledge seekers feel now and how you feel at the end of the session. And what has changed inside you? What timeline we moved? We have, what we do with you in this session, we are moving the timeline. That's all we are doing. Which we fix the timeline of the soul of the man. So the only timeline left to fix, to be, is the timeline of the physicality, which that timeline now is locked through a process we set up in the background, that it brings nothing but change in the position and in reflection into place and into what you decide to change as a third section of it. The place, the position, and the position. You cannot change the place. You're still in the same clothes, in the same room. But part of the energy will change the position and partly change the position. Do I look younger? Do I look happier? How I find contentment within me? Am I content? I don't need to give one. So now you see how we play with your timeline. What we told you about changing position of the long was actually showing in a way of you changing your timeline, but you don't do it because you get too busy with something else. Now we ingrain it. We have brought a new energy level which does not exist on this planet. And because of it, man kills. Because of it, man suffers. Because of it, man's become unified. In the coming weeks, in a very, very short few weeks, we'll address the shortcoming of the man on another level. Which means every man born become what I call the Swiss man. A child born in Africa is the worries of the parents, what to feed, where is the next food coming from, where is my shelter? The same in different part of the world, in India, in Amazon. A child born in Switzerland, from the beginning, the parents refuse even government paying us money. They work 3 days a week. They work to enjoy life. They don't work to live, to survive. And in a very short time, we give that, not the Swiss knife, but the Swiss life to every single child born on this planet. The change of time. We bring a new dimension, and we have set to do it. A few tweaks in the next few weeks will bring the cooperation and elaboration of change of the time for the whole of humanity. We move to the next steps. I am who I am. I'm born to be free. I'm born to not to worry when the next food comes. In a way, every child born is born with a sack of gold on his soul. Governments cannot interfere. Governments cannot change. You cannot become, must say in England now, after 10 o'clock at night, you cannot use your mobile phone, otherwise it's a criminal offense. There'll be no crime because we elevate the soul of the time of the man. We brought a new energy into the cycle of the man, which we don't need no government. We need no one but the knowledge of the universe. We are the messengers. We are here to save humanity the correct way. Even though we live amongst men, the same as men do, suffer the same as a man does, enjoy life as a man does, because we have to understand the weakness of the man, the flaws, that we can correct it. How can you do something when you have no understanding of it? How do you know what hunger is when you're born in Switzerland and the food and the money is on the table from every child born? Africans do. And 15% of the children in America, now 25% because latest go hungry to bed because there is no food. Mr. Trump has wiped out a lot of jobs. Parents don't have their food to eat. We say in English, fair coats and no knickers. Now we provide that knicker. We provide that contentment through the technology, knowledge, and indirect through the works with the governments, creating conditions that we change the timeline through the knowledge. Our work goes now to enlighten the world leaders in that dimension. It's the responsibility of Universal Council to take that challenge and to take it up and feed the universal, what we call the soul energies, to the world leaders to bring that change, that balance. We don't look at the shortcoming of the war or of the man. It's like the volcanic eruptions, you cannot stop. Too much energy, too much testosterone, hit somewhere. The bulls fight it on the field, the man fights with weapon. Creating condition of power through the energy increase in the dimension of the soul of the man brings a new timeline, a new energy, which the body of the man has to make a material for it. As it cannot make a material, this material does not exist on the earth, it brings a new energy, new dimension, new position and position as the place is at. Sorry, you cannot change it. The soul which created it came shortfall of what it had to create a perfect life. Understanding the totality of the operation of the soul of the man is the responsibility of every man, and is a creator's given right. It's man who has to put his hand out, reach it, understanding, grab it, and use it for itself. Because what you miss here, the cycle of the life you create will be missed in there. So you have to live this life in the time of half-life of a man as a mature soul, with everything within it, what we call self-containment, same contentment. Now you understand how we are playing with your timeline. Now you understand how your behavior towards your sibling, your brother, your child, your dog, your neighbor in the past 2 weeks has changed. And they have changed towards you. And you have changed to yourself. I love to live because I'm no burden to my own emotion. I enjoy the emotions. We change the timeline. Even as you're listening now, you're going through that process. We are not enforcing it, we are making it available. And your soul is so hungry that it's eating it, grabbing into it, using the links to be able to feed your emotion, to change the soul of physicality, to change the physicality of the man. And this is the process I said many times in the past, now you may understand. We feed the man through the soul of the man, that he feeds the physicality. Now you understand it's done through the enlightenment. Enlightenment increases the dimension of fields of the emotion, and the emotion is a connection between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man, and the soul of physicality is the feeder of the man. What you will see, a parallel flat line in the dimension of the physicality, which means the soul of physicality, the physicality of man work on one line. If you change it to the energy side, we see the soul. If you change it to the horizontal side, you change it to dimension of physicality, manifestation of contentment of the man in all three dimensions. Now it's time for that change. Would we receive another field energy that will change us? Will change the condition, the position, and the possession. Would we be able to come into agreement with the governments that the satellites do not beam out the information from mobile phone, but beam out the dimension of the energy fields of the universe and humanity and the creatures on this planet, does not matter within or outside or above, that they all change. Man shall not kill. Thou shalt not do anything which is wrong, because he is a Swiss life. It doesn't need to be a Swiss life. This is our job. This is the eventuality of the work of the Keshe Foundation on the banner of the science. And this is why so many governments attack, so many governments fight, because they know in their soul, in their subconscious, that we are here and will bring that change. You can cry and shout. When we have to give you that medicine, you see what you do. You grab the leg, you hold the head, and you force feed the child to take that medicine because you know it's good for it. You're in that position. You feed the soul of the man. We grab you by every part of your energy, physical dimension to feed that, what we call the medicine. End up killing the love of the man for creation and created, and a new cycle. This is the job of us as universal teachers. Those who became prophet, the other are making profit by their name. As teachers, we all benefit by the knowledge. You receive the knowledge. You are the givers. We don't interfere. We enlighten. Enlightenment brings the change, the emotion change, dimension of physicality. Your place is fixed on earth. So the only thing left for you is change your position. Position, you might look younger, your husband must say, oh, you're beginning like when you were 18, you're more active. Tell him, listen, understand, you take from me because I made it free for you too. Step by step, we bring that change in. And we have started the process. We have to bring the knowledge in a way that you understand, and then bring the change. It's time to understand the true life of the man, that it sits with the soul of the man and not with his dimension of physicality. We go for a break. And when we come back, we try to answer any questions. And notice, if you notice any changes between now and the second session. And those of you who are with us tomorrow, this session will start around, we move the session to around about 12 o'clock. That we catch all of you in America, in Europe, and in Asia around about the same time. So you have to wake up earlier. And we want to know how you feel after tomorrow's session. what changes you see in yourself that it brings you to the position of changing the time, bringing the enlightenment, and changing the dimension of physicality. We expect many of you, especially if you received your cosmic ray bolt, to start in the coming sessions seeing the, in a way, reduction in the need for the dimension of physicality, as you can do a lot of things with these balls. If you have 2 balls, put them in your hands. If you have 4 balls, 2 on the leg, 2 on the hand, and then in this halfway through the session, move the ones in your leg, which you put on your feet, to the 2 sides of your head, and start playing with the dimension of enlightenment, and see how you change the physicality to the dimension of energy and back. This is where the fun starts. Most of you should have received your what we call the cosmic ray balls. Keshe Foundation, through honoring those who served the foundation, received some of these balls as your surprise packages, which you were not expecting. This is us thanking you for your services to the foundation. Allows you to enlighten, allows you to bring a new dimension, evolution of the soul of the man. We try to bring balance into energy, but the energy of the soul, energy of the physicality, you have enough on the table every morning, lunch, and dinner. We go for a break and we come back and try to answer your questions. Rick, if you can take us for a break, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, this is the 600th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and we will take a short break and be back, and there will be an opportunity for people to ask questions of Mr. Keshe, and those who are in the attendees will be able to raise their virtual hands, and then we can acknowledge you to open your microphone. And those in YouTube, or if you'd like to put something in our webinar chat, a question in the chat here, you can do that, or use the Q&A in the Zoom here as well. Okay, back shortly.
new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before.
Okay, back again at the 600th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 24th, 2025. And as per usual, Mr. Keshe will likely have a couple of things to announce or discuss before we begin questions. And is that true, Mr. Keshe? Or
in a way, we would like to hear from any of you who had any experience in the last 2 weeks and how you felt. If any of you wants to volunteer.
And well, we do have a note from Doug in the chat here, who says, the change in my daughter is very positive lately. She was very messed up with drugs and she wasn't communicating with us, maybe out of shame. But now we are communicating every week in a happy and positive way. This has occurred over the last month or so. I have been affected in my emotions, and since last week, I have reviewed my past activities in an honest way and realize what changes need to be made and not repeat the mistakes that I have made.
Any other?
Let me see here. Other than Kirsten, who says, thank you so much. I cannot stop crying. I'm so thankful. Thank you to all of you.
It's important for us to know us and not the others. And then what we release that allows the others to live a better life through us. And the way we become the sun. This is what we call many times to many of you satellites. Many of you who became satellites volunteer to become. In these sessions, you feel totally different and you start becoming what you volunteered for with your soul. And we keep it that way because our job is to bring the change. And those who wanted to bring that change, the need to work through the soul is not the same as working with the physicality. It's not the money you put in the bank, it's not the donation or contribution. Making the soul available to work in a way is what you became satellites. And we set that up, we're setting it up in a very big way. And this is a work up there, as it is on the low of the Keshe Foundation. We are here to serve Many of you looked at it, why don't we do this? Why don't we set up that? We are here to serve the soul of the man, not the physicality of the man, as man physically serves himself to whatever he likes anyway. Maybe by serving the soul, we change the man. And that's the whole parameters of work. As usual, we make some announcements in this part of the, what we call the teaching. 3 new sessions has been set up if you want to register. And it's for August, September, and October. These sessions are very much bringing you to enlighten yourself to the next phase and the rest of it. And some of you will feel part of this in tomorrow's session. As I said, first sessions will actually put you to reach to the point of you transmuting in the dimension you like. We're still battling with the work of sorting out the situation as our financial situation sits to find a position. And we haven't found it yet to be balanced and in what I call it within the framework of the Keshe Foundation. We received many supports and donations, but the figure is so high that we have to find a solution, put it in a way that collectively we can bring that change. As long as that ends, we are pending because it takes time to sort such a thing. Before, I used to cash it out. $1 million, $2 million was nothing. Keshe Foundation as part of my private assets, but we have brought a lot of limitation through what we call misconduct of the others. We sit here to bring a lot of change, but by yourself, not by us. We are not a cult, we are not a religion. We are a scientific organization that you through it understand the process of creation. Institutions, organizations does not really make much difference because the work of the Keshe Foundation sits somewhere else and for a different criterion of work. And be very much aware in the next 2 months, Keshe Foundation will make a huge announcements and it'll be done in accordance to what we agreed, and we set up all the structure of the Keshe Foundation for Makray, cash coins, and what we call cosmic ray. A new criteria, a new balance will come into operation. One of the knowledge seekers, one of the heads of the Keshe Foundation, has written this in detail. When I was reading it yesterday, he brought back without talking how enlightened the people and the management of the Keshe Foundation and that top are fine-tuned without speaking, knowing the purpose of the work of the Keshe Foundation. One day I release the text of the communication from the heads of the Keshe Foundation, who serves the Keshe Foundation through his soul, does not matter what brings in the dimension of physicality. Explaining the work, what other knowledge seekers without knowing are setting up to bring that change. Are there any questions? And if you can answer.
Okay, there's a couple of other comments here. Let me see. Movahead comments, I am more master of my soul, calmer and more serene. And Dolores in Italian translates to relationships in my family have improved significantly. And that's what was also commented previously by Doug as well, about the family being better, family situation. And Antonella has a comment in our chat here. In a complicated emotional situation, I felt more detached and objective. The other day, I woke up with energy, with energy without energy, with a slow mind. I listened to Knowledge Seekers Workshop number 598 for 20 minutes. I had a strange release, a kind of sigh and relaxation to the chest. And I came back lucid and energy as if by magic. We have a message through Raphael from Francielli. I also cried a lot during the teachings, a very deep joy. Throughout the teaching, I didn't feel sleepy. I was very attentive to what was being said. Katja says, hello, wow, so deep, happy, strongest emotion ever inside. Thank you so much. Another message from Raphael regarding or from Evanice. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Despite having completely reduced my food intake, I felt nourished and energized with incredible energy and a very pleasant feeling of harmony and balance.
Are there any questions?
We have one other testimony from Joy, Joy says, my husband has been trying for years to get rid of me. Now he is moving himself out of the family home, etc., etc. Much love and appreciation. I'm a satellite and loving it. Karen. Okay, let me see. Let's get to questions here. Okay, we have a comment and question from Jefferson Modesto, who says he's from Brazil. And Jefferson has asked many questions before. He has a thank you and a question to ask. First, I want to thank your soul for helping me fully recover my heart health, both physically and emotionally. As I've explained on previous occasions, I had a serious problem with my cardiorespiratory system in 2023. But after using technology, MagGrav, vitamin D, and listening to Knowledge Seekers Workshops 598 and 599, where you gifted us with the connection to the enhancement systems, I feel fully restored in this and other physical and emotional aspects. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. My question is, since the beginning of the health crisis that hit planet Earth in 2020, I felt that there was something very strange about the digital electronic devices I came into contact with. I felt physically and emotionally that these devices were generating energy fields that somehow interacted with my body and emotions. I began to observe what was happening to me and others. Initially, physical symptoms such as headaches, changes in blood pressure, and the appearance of spots and sores on the skin, as described in some scientific articles addressing the subject. During this period, I also noticed psychological changes in myself and in many people I was in contact with. I tried to report this to friends here in Brazil, my relatives, government officials, health professionals, etc. Unfortunately, practically everyone ignored me, but I felt I was right in what I was perceiving. Today, with everything I'm learning from your teachings and seeing how powerful the technology that can transmit energy packets by way of cell phones is, I understand how evil minds were able to use it for evil and spread disease around the world in just a few hours. From this perspective, how can we shield our cell phones, computers, and other programmable digital devices so that no government or criminal enterprise can attempt to dominate or harm us through the malicious use of these technologies?
The change, in a way, is set to come through sharing the technology and the advancement of it in a special way, and
recording in progress.
In a way that there's a window of opportunity for the Keshe Foundation to bring, affect, interact, whatever name you want to put on it, with governments, with the structures which affect our daily lives, to bring that change. What is interesting is this system, what you see, now we have physically produced it. And in a way, this is the next step for implanting this technology into satellites, into communication channels. Not hide it, but embed it into systems that is reachable by mass communication. They still have a lengthy process to go to perfect this system. The system is not what it's supposed to be, should be, but it's a compromise. It's a step to the, as has been the rest of the development of the Keshe Foundation, to the final point. But we are in a position to be able to change the emotion of the man collectively. And we are at the verge of this position. How to make a peaceful man out of the man of violence. How to change the man in a very different way about the systems that, in a way, feeds the man through the soul of the man. In a way, preparing to change the whole emotion of the man, instead of buckets of gases into the rivers and the buildings, directly transferring the emotion of peace, the emotion of understanding through satellites, which then feeds the whole of humanity, the animals. Anything which has a soul will receive it and will change. We are not far from it. We are developing structures through governments to reach this position. And the greed of power has allowed us to bring this into the position of power to be able to be done. In a way, we are bringing the technology to feed the man, to change the soul of the man, the emotion of the man, through the present communication, but through plasma. The biggest problem we had was conversion of digital into plasmatic in a very effective way. And these headsets are set to bring that position, but they're very primitive. They're the first stages of learning. And it brings in a dimension totally different. In today's session, we, in a partial way, have achieved, or we are testing this on you. What is interesting for you to see, in a way, I try to explain to you how much we have changed you. At the beginning of the process, how we literally have brought your system in a way of what we call directly feeding the soul of the man. Will bring changes directly to you as individuals. Very much concentrated on the dimension of the what I call physicality, and in a way to bring about a dimension of understanding the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, and how man receives energy, but in the direct line elevates the soul of the physicality of the man, which changes the behavior of the man. Some of you remember last week's image, which we gave you, and some of you remember from the other parts of the teaching how we change this parameters, which directly touches you physically. In the second part of the session, since we come from the break, we have concentrated to feed your physicality. We have shifted everything from the soul to the physical dimension. If you remember last week's pictures, the soul was concentrated. Now we can feed the soul in a way directly that feeds the soul of physicality. What does this mean? I'm trying to find the pictures for you that you can see. This is what I show you. We created this now. And then I'm going to find a picture of last week that you can see the dimension of the work, how much we have control over these conditions, and how the technology is developing to reach this point. You have to bear with me. This is what I call a live session. It's not something that it was set up before, so the data as it comes, you become aware of it. And then you see how we are changing this. You say your daughter, your wife, your husband, your others have changed or whatever they've done. You have to understand there is a reason. You are that reason. You receive energy, you work with that energy, and that brings you to that position. What is interesting for us is I show you exactly. I'm going to find a picture of last week that you understand the change. It's not easy when you're looking for a nail in the haystack. Okay. If you look at these pictures, then you see where we come in and how this can be done physically now. And as you are souls, the energy we receive is transferred.
Recording in progress.
My wish is my command. And I would like you to look at these pictures, then you might remember some of it, and you might not remember some of it. Why doesn't it allow me to share what I want to share? Okay. So this might be out of sequence, but we come to it when we share. You remember this last week. This is where we touch your soul. We concentrate on the work of the soul. And you remember this dot and this here. And you see more or less nothing here. Just watch. And see what's happened now. This is where you are now. And there is nothing here. And you see the position of the soul of the man and the physicality of man. We have turned it upside down. Which shows we're still working. You still see splashes here. You see the soul of physicality has changed position to this. And you see the soul of the man and the physicality. This is why your physically feel changes. That's why we want to know how you feel today. And this process is since the break. This is not before the break, because before the break, you had a different configuration. We set out to feed the physicality of the man. And we use the dimension of the soul of the man to do so. And interesting is, this is before the break in the early sessions. What do we see? Nothing here. Here developing, and you see the soul. Energy coming from the universe directly feeds to the soul, and then you see the brightness in this area, the physicality. And in time, in the sessions like tomorrow, once we feed the soul, once we go into the process of feeding the soul, we will change the emotion and we'll see physicality. I expect people who participate tomorrow to have an increase in life span in the long term by 10 to 20 years. Or joyfulness of back 20 years from the past. Happiness, the joy, physical interaction of how I was feeling when I was 40, when I was 20. We set it up that way tomorrow. And how will change your children? This we see when the grandparents hug and cuddle the youngsters. This is why you see grandchildren, when they see the grandfather, they run. They usually miss grandmother because they get the love of their grandfather. They're attached to it because our love of the grandfather is pure. They have no blood connection to the mother, to the grandmother. And they receive that energy and they give that energy to the parents, to the grandfathers, to the grandmothers. This is why the elder love to see their grandchildren. Even talking to them on the phone gives them that energy. This is what this is about. How we can transfer higher order energy into the dimension of physicality. That the physicality is active. It changes that dimension. How many of you will not have the pain or suffering tomorrow, next week, whatever, what's been with you for years? Because now, through the soul of physicality, you're feeding the physicality. You physically see it. It's not something that is coming from nowhere. You don't see anything, literally nothing. As if you remember the others, we always see big activity here. Energy received from the, what you call the outside. We shortcutted it. Here, we are doing the job what the universe was supposed to do with you. That's the shortfall that makes man to kill, makes man everything else. And this is what is part of our work. And tomorrow's session, if those of you who don't care about who snores or whatever, because some of you just waking up, some of you going to sleep, then you enjoy a beautiful session tomorrow. I said that one of the most beautiful experiences man, if you are in that level, will ever feel. Thanking God to be alive, to be part of this cycle of creation in the dimension of physicality. In a way, we are set out to understand what it means to be and what it means to enact and be there to affect the future. We are not here set to make you closer or further or find a solution in the dimension of your life. We are here to bring a balance. We are here for man to find his position and position. And then it's for you how you create it. And this is beautiful what you see here. Because we are providing the energy in the dimension that allows the change. And we never talk about it because then we preset your mind. And this is what we cannot do. But we like to see how you change, how effective will come. And then you understand this is what your grandchildren do to you when you hug them, when you cuddle them, when you see them. And this is what the process sits to be. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up with Dean here, but before we get to that, let me just relay another comment in our chat here from UC Host 1. I have a brother with a very delicate health problems, digestive and urinary system. Since the 598th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, I've focused on restoring his health by connecting with him through my soul and the soul of all those knowledge seekers I'd asked for help to get better. He finally agreed to enter the hospital a week ago and has been recovering, while the entire family has become closer around this situation. Okay.
This comes as elevation. You don't need to do much. And in a way, you let the soul do what the physicality couldn't do by elevating the soul. And this is the job of the man. There's no room. In a way, you are a paracetamol, you are ibuprofen, you are antibiotic, you are psychology, and what they call medicine, but on the level of the energy, because the wish is pure. This is the beauty of this understanding. As your wish is pure, helping your brother or anything else, or getting rid of the husband because it's a soul which suffers, then the souls make an agreement and the physicality just follows. It's an army which the general is the soul and physicality the foot soldier. When the old song, let the foot do the walking, let the boot do the walking. But now you do the soul to do the walking, but you understand how it works. You cannot harm this knowledge, because energy balance, field balances create that balance. Even though you think it's wrong to me what it's done, why should I do? And then you do something because the soul already agreed, you're a foot soul, you just carry out what is said. And the sooner we realize this, the faster we can change a lot of things in our lives. A lot of things. We don't need to take ourselves to the courts. There are no courts, no prison. The judge, jury, executor is our soul. Balance with the rest. And this is where a lot of people don't understand. Those who understood have become magicians. In a way, it's like a job of a peacemaker. But the peacemaker now is the whole of the soul of the creation which you are connected to. They judge, they decide, and they cannot harm. They accommodate. That accommodation might bring you joy, but not the way you wanted it. You may become aware of your own shortcomings in the whole relationship. Not that it's always somebody else's fault. Enlightenment is not just by getting knowledge. Enlightenment is by knowing oneself. And this is the next step of process of the work of the teaching. As I was talking to some military people very recently, and I said to them, do you know something? Just don't fall for me being so close to you and working so close with you, because I have a target. You lot have access to the satellites, I don't, and I need to get into your satellites to change the whole of the human race and who lives here to become peaceful. He said to me, you're very devious the way you are doing it. I said, I can't go to Mr. Musk and say, I want to give telephone line to the Africans and everybody else can have it free. I want to make their life free for the man. And you have the tools. And man has to accept it. He cannot enforce it. And man only accepts as a point of contentment and way of, what do you call it, salvation for his own soul. So, what changes around you? You receive energy of the higher, the more enlightened detachment in a way. And as all the souls are dynamic plasmas, connect to the others. And don't forget, man has a very huge weakness, and that is he never wants to say, sorry, I was wrong. And that's where they do everything else but saying it, but you watch, if you observe it is the correct way, you've done your job. It's not by shouting it, it's by actually doing it which counts. And if things happen the way you should do, the way you expect it, so the way you wish the well for, that's what it counts.
Mr. Keshe, there's been a couple of comments where people are having trouble with the volume. The sound volume is too low for them. I'm wondering if there's some sound setting that might be turned down on your end.
Let's see. No, it's okay. I brought it up. Is it better now?
I think so. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. I'd like to just read a couple more comments before we hear from Dean here. Gail says, I feel joy and am beginning again to give powerful unconditional love pouring out of me, especially during the Brazil intentions. Stefania mentions, I am more in peace and my skin has changed, is smoother and healthier. I had a contact with a person I care so much and I didn't hear for a very long time. I have been receiving an answer I asked for. My computer stopped working in both sessions. After the session last week, I could not, just a second. I could not keep my eyes open. Okay, there's other comments, but let's move to Dean and see what he would like to say.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I've been listening intently to all the words that have been spoken, and I too, on a personal level, have been going through many transitions and interactions, Mr. Keshe. and both in the physical form, on a soul level. I know you touched my soul a long time ago, and it's the soul of physicality that's starting to catch up a little, I suppose. All these things that Rick has spoken about, I mean, I seem to be going through this, as I said, physically, with skin conditions and emotional changes. I was doing some gardening recently, and my physical body was very tired, very tired. I've been unable to sleep for the last few nights because of something I've done to my structure. And over since you swapped the system, whether it's my emotions or whatever, but that's eliminated at the moment. It's suddenly, I had a body that was very aching in a certain place, and now that's gone at the moment. And yet that kept me awake for the last 2 nights minimum. So the physical side is definitely changing. It's being more balanced, as you said, and the emotions are, what I'm finding is the emotions are totally different now. I've spoken about this before. There's no big sways, highs and lows. It's more of a balanced emotion, and I don't get whatever comes towards me, it doesn't affect in the same way. It doesn't cause this big emotional sway of a welling up of an emotion. It's just not there anymore. It's much more balanced, and it almost feels like the detachment, but it feels strange because we're used to being emotional beings based on planet Earth, and to suddenly to lose that emotion is it's an unusual feeling. That's for sure. So where that leads to, Mr. Kesh, with the situation to come, one thing I would like to say is, would it be when will it be so beautiful for all of humanity to really, to start to feel this, as you've spoken about the satellites and being able to beam this across the planet, so the whole planet becomes peaceful and forgets this war situation. And this condition is, it's a difficult position to go through, and it's like growing pains almost. But you feel it. You have to give to the others. You have to keep giving so that they receive what you're receiving. And I wish that the whole of humanity, and particularly our leaders, really feel this, really get to feel it, not just the talk, to actually feel it, and to actually to have the soul touched, so the physicality has to move. Because I know the knowledge seekers, the beautiful knowledge seekers, are very much already in this position, and you've already said this many times. We're all knowledge seekers, so yeah. So that's my sort of small testimonial, Mr. Keshe. I don't know if you want to respond to that. Thank you.
Oh, it's nice to hear, but you have to understand something else. As we age, we mellow too, huh?
Yeah, this is true.
So that comes part of it.
I think, Mr. Keshe, that it's generational. I don't want to say the word traumas, but it's generational emotions, and from the lineage and others that have, and being part of a structure where you've experienced something, and it's that releasing of all that energy that's been stored and in position, and you've had to deal with without really realizing it, and you have to. You have to absorb the energy, and you have to gradually give it out. When I first started my journey with the foundation, yourself and the foundation, I was on a very high spiritual, position, and then that changed, and the journey's been a long transitional path. But the understanding is much more profound. The teachings are so extensive, and there's I know a fraction of nothing, but they are so extensive that it takes a long time for it to absorb into us. You can touch the soul, but the physical side of us is so set in its position that it takes it can take a long time to move. That's for sure. It seems that way.
Yes, I understand, and it's is interesting to observe things about oneself and how things go, how we feel, how we rejuvenate our life cycle in a way, and our emotion partially is connected to this. No way we can change the physicality back to 18-year-old, but but now with the plastic surgery you can push it back a little bit, but it can't change the attitude, our understanding and the behavior. But when we see a younger body or a more able body, it creates a different emotion in us, that it creates a new dimension of life. We see that on a daily basis. But I don't know if you remember a very old joke. The husband says, I'm fed up with this woman. She's old. She used to be young, and now he's himself in 70s and 80s. It was a joke sent to me very recently. Again, I saw it and I just brought back. We can change everything with the surgeries of today, but we cannot change the man inside. And that comes by elevation of the soul, by understanding one's position and partially detachment. And we get tested by it. We see this on a daily basis. And it's sometimes when you speak to people, if you've been through it, you know what you're talking about. You understand the emotion. When you speak to somebody who's got a cancer or who's got a terminal illness that there is no return, or somebody told about them that you have such a condition, to use just a word, but if you've been through it, you know what they've been through it, what they're going through. You can transfer a different emotion and energy to them, that sometimes even that can change the condition of the cancer with them. Because you experience it. You carry that enlightenment of what it brings. I know this very well, and when people tell me, oh, me or my family or somebody has got a cancer and blah blah, you hear it as a cancer, but somebody who's been through it, I know the emotion of it. It's not a word anymore. When you're young in your early 40s and you're told you have a pancreas cancer and nobody has survived it, you analyze everything about your life. What have I done? What is left for the children? What could I do to change? Oh, I have so much. The doctors tell me you don't have more than 2 or 3 months maximum. 2 to 6 years down the line, I'm still here. It's not that I know what it means. I know what emotion it brings, and what it ignites in every dimension. And when you have that knowledge, then you become aware of a new level of understanding, a hidden enlightenment that nobody with no teaching, with no research can ever explain to you. Is not written in the research papers. Is not written in any scientific paper. But then you can, because you've been there, you transfer that emotion to them. This is why I always said, when I used to handle the wellness systems, I could feel the emotion. And when I used to make systems, it was so successful, people could change, because it goes in with the soul of me. This is why sometimes we have critical conditions. Sometimes I feel the situation, how you can pass the energy to your structure, not not being there physically, because you know the emotion. This is part of the cycle of life. And we have to educate on the emotion side, which goes with the soul, more than the physicality.
Mr. Keshe, sorry, Mr. Keshe, what you just said there. So one thing I realized some time ago was I've had conditions in my body. I know that if I'd have fed them emotion, they would have grown into all sorts of things, conditions. And I learnt through the foundation and through your teachings not to feed the emotion into it. So I changed. So the condition became more dormant. It stopped in its tracks. It didn't grow more. So I wish that others could understand the emotion of what you speak about. That if they can stop feeding, the brain with an emotional problematic, condition of thinking, worrying, instead of feeling joy and happiness and love for each and every moment, that how they can completely change, their structure. And that's why these systems and all that you're testing and showing, they're physical and they're so beautiful. But the soul aspect is so powerful when you should actually really understand, the essence of the soul. You can, you give from your soul to another soul, and you can really change. And I know I felt this with all the knowledge seekers, all the Universal Council, and with yourself and many of the beautiful people that are around the foundation. You sense it, you feel it, and once you have this knowledge, you can you try to share it with the others, but they've not had the teachings, and so it's like trying to talk a little bit to a brick wall where it doesn't understand because it just hasn't had the in-depth knowledge, and it's getting that knowledge through. And I suppose the only way to do that on one aspect is to share it on a soul level. I think that's the beauty of it.
I'm going to share with you something very honestly, it's not just with you alone. Something which has happened very, very recently. And recent, you have to understand the time with this position at the time, you call it the time of the man. This doesn't happen in the level of physicality, it happens in soul, in the level of energy, or what they call the soul of the creation. The way you have the Universal Council, the way you have Earth Council, the universal teachers gather together as Universal Teachers Council. Very few. And this touched me when I felt it's not the word of the man you feel. One of the council members, or souls, said you took your time with man, but now you're getting them where you wanted. And with it, our souls get enlightened. But couldn't you do it a bit faster? I said, man is a slow animal. It's worse than, the slowest creatures we know. But at least this time we do it correctly. We don't need to come back and correct it again. It's taking time, being patient is not a virtue, is a necessity with the human race. And is not touching the souls, is elevating the souls without the souls knowing they've been touched. Man has a habit of resisting change or accepting the anything for the love of its life, whatever reason. And we do it this way. And it's taken a long time. And I remember waking up in a way, coming back to the dimension of physicality of the man, and I thought, now something has been achieved when your what you call peers, people who you work with in different dimensions, who understand, appreciate the work. understand the work, because I, in a way, as a memory of man, hear that your work has even benefited us, the souls which are connected to us, because you teach right across the universe. And in a way, we feel a change. Because as much as we have to prepare man to go out in the space, we have to prepare outside to put the animosities, and not animosities, the distance they created for the human race because of its behavior. That these creatures have tamed, they brought themselves to follow, not that we brought them as a herd, they have to follow. And this is the beauty of what we see. These skirmishes we see between religions, it's just because they know the time has come. The end has come for their all it, and you see it when the Jews bomb a Christian church directly, blow it up to a smithereen, killing some people in it, as they do with the mosques, and then they claim everything else, and then you can see where the end sits. Not very far. Not very far. Because they become so big that their own big-headedness brings their own downfall. What happened in the past few days, it's brought a lot of changes. It does not matter what the world leaders play, and the script is already written. If you remember, go back on the teachings a few weeks ago, few months ago, I said that the naval force of the United States are there to capture the Israelis trying to escape. And they close the borders, the only we can escape to it. The only people coming out of Israel are Mossad agents and those who are supposed to do some more killing. Ordinary people can now. And very interesting, very interesting report, which Israelis don't want you to know. A lot of Jews in Israel are paying the Palestinians to get them out of Israel. Through Gaza, through West Bank. Jews are paying the Palestinians to get them out of Israel because they closed the door of the gate. Because they have the tunnels, they know how to get out, they know how to come and go. And many people who built a good relationship, not just for the money, they're the people who help the Palestinians, now are virtually paying with everything they have for the Palestinians through the tunnels and through their ways to get them out of Gaza to freedom. Many of these people coming out, they're just getting very fast. If you live in Europe, you see a lot of young people has been slipped through these tunnels, through these lines, through Palestinians. Even though the Jews are killing them, these are the ones that live together. These are the old Jewish family connected to the Palestinians, are appearing in cities like Vienna. They're appearing in France, and they're shipping them out through their channels. The way Libyans and the rest came, now we see a large number of Jewish people appearing through help of the Palestinians, those who are real Jews and they really build the thing. And the funniest thing is, they don't become captured. They don't become prisoners. They don't become commodity. And the whole of the Palestinian group helps them to escape from the country which they created so much mayhem for them. And this is the beauty of it. In the recent past, I've seen a few, and even they fly out to arrange for this to come out. They are moving their brothers, the sisters, the mothers through the love and the connection they built with the Palestinians. And a strange thing is, none of them become prisoners. They go and capture the Israeli soldiers, but they make tunnels, they make arrangements. No money transferred. Palestinians refuse to accept money to transfer these Jewish people out of Palestine. They pay for it with love and with care. And we see it. And in the past few weeks, we've seen more and more Israeli refugees across Europe than anywhere else. Where we used to see the Palestinians, we used to see the Lebanese and Libyans and the rest. That's part of the enlightenment. This shows the true side of each work. As one of the Jewish guys was saying to me, I'm just waiting for them to move me. And I wrote him, have you been moved yet? He said, I'm on the move. No money exchange. And they kill them with bombs. And they give them clear passage to those who serve them. So help with their brothers that live for centuries with each other. They know them. And I always say there's still a light left at the end of the tunnel for humanity.
Mr. Keshe, if we were to extend the life of the man, what would the position be to be able to use this in the correct way, to be able to make it fulfilling for all the physical beings and the souls? So not just to keep this cycle going of endless, destruction and wars and everything else, to create this a balanced population that is feeding each other in beauty in totality, so the planet really does change. And for the souls that are creating this, for them to be elevated to the point where they cannot do this anymore, or they have to change position. So by extending the life of the man, how would this affect the planet, really?
We have to educate. It's no use extending life and creating more mayhem. We have to educate the man, the soul of the man. We have to bring about a new condition. Extending the life without what you call bringing added value to it is useless. I'm in my more or less very soon in 70s, but I work many times harder than when I was 17 or 20 or 25. Those days I used to run around getting things done. Nowadays I hardly run around, but I get a lot of things done. But physical energy is maybe more than when I was 20, 25. It's just that emotion to serve man, emotion to complete the job is so powerful that even the physicality has to start changing. And this is the same with all of us. If it comes a point of satisfaction, a point of happiness, a point of joy, a point of accomplishing, will bring a lot of things, a lot of joys, a lot of changes. And compare it to when you're physically younger. You don't need to become younger or live longer, but living a purposeful life changes that, brings that change. And it adds to life, the value of the life. The value of the life exists. It's not good living 100 years and being in a wheelchair and in old people's home. But the value of life is being 20, but being able to serve, to bring the change. And it needs training, it needs being aware of. And how you do it, and the way you do it, and how you feel inside with what you're doing. And if you get satisfied, then that satisfaction increases the lifespan. And increases the joy in the life. And when you've been right across the world of business, the world of science, the technology, and now what we do beyond the eye of a man, it just totally different than when I was younger and the things I used to do. When you're in the physical dimension, there is no satisfaction. It's just another step, a bigger step. Or when you don't think about it, it's just you set up a structure which does, doesn't matter what you do, it rains. And you sometimes think, was it worth it? What did I learn from it? When I sit and watch these people like Amazon, we were in position long past Amazon 30 years ago when the computers came. Most probably would have been one of these people in a very different, larger scale. But do I miss it? No, because what I do now, that brought me to where I am now, to learn to know how to handle what is there. I remember in early 70s, early 90s, when the computers came and what you hear about Amazon, I started the companies, number of them in UK, on the dot-coms, beginning of the dot-coms, and it was very simple. 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, and 100 dot-coms. If you go on the dot-com, you'll find it on the internet. And we started this, what you see with Amazon today. We had a 10,000 square meter warehouse, fully shelved, equipped with everything else. There was no need to look. Somebody sends an order. Those days was very early. These things people used to use in catalogs. If you remember, in England, we used to get big books every year. They're like about 1,000, 2,000 pages. You just choose and send the order, and it comes. People were just learning. And I remember walking into one of our bank managers, talking about something. He says, Mehran, I want to ask you something. I said, well, he says, this is not me. I've got it from the management of the bank. We would like to buy one of your dot-coms for so many million. Would you sell it? I said, I just started a few months ago. He said, we see what you're taking through it, and we think it's the future. Would you sell it for so many million? I said, no, I'm not interested because I'm learning from it. And now I look at the Keshe Foundation instances. I used to run this 30 years ago with such a success. Now it's in the hand of people doing it, and still we have pitfalls. Do I miss it? No. I'm happy with mistakes made in Keshe Foundation, deliveries and the rest. Yes, it's part of the process. But when I look what that brought me to where I am and what it brought the Keshe Foundation to be, because I know how to handle things, it's worth it. You see the trucks of Amazon now. 1990s, we used to have British Post Office fed up with us sending trucks to just load every day. It was very simple. You want to give a gift, £5. You could afford 5. It was there. We decided, or you decide, that's fine. We most probably bought the goods for about 20 cents, 50 cents that time. Do I miss? No, but do I enjoy? Yes, I learned a lot from it. I know how to do other things with it. But would it bring me any joy? No, because the joy of seeing what we're bringing, what is about to come, it's learning that you can do what we're about to do. And you can't just jump from one, you're just learning this. As much enlightenment comes to you, as come to the whole process of the whole humanity. It needs time. It needs time. I remember in 1990s, we used to get calls from the ministers, from the cabinet ministers. Can you do such a thing? Can you shift such a thing? And it was, oh yes, I can do this for this government, I can do that for that government. Because financial power gave us that power to be able to deal with governments. And that's why today, for me, a minister, president, is the same, because I know who they are, I know how they come after. Very recently, one of the world presidents moved somewhere, and I received a request from one of the governments, one of the top leaders. Can you tell us what's going on? I said, I want to know who he moved with. He said, what's got to do with it? I said, I want to know who he traveled with. Is he with that guy? And is he with this and this? And he says, yes. How did you know? I said, he's taken a bribe. Go for it. And I found him. Because we've seen the structure. We know the movement of the man. He's one of the world leaders every day you hear in the news about. I received a call from one of the world leaders. Can you tell us what is this? And I just asked a few questions. And I told them where they are meeting, what it is, and what is the condition why they moved together for one. And it was not 99%, it was 100% correct. It's not we inside. We have the knowledge. And that knowledge brings comfort, because they stopped a lot of things in the background which have been creating a lot of mayhem for the others. My work doesn't come in making things, it comes from the knowledge which creates a condition for. And we have to learn this from the man to be able to serve them. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, if I may, can I just ask this one last question, because you mentioned it last week. How was the situation, or has the situation changed with what you did with the nuclear, offering it to the other countries in a different way? How does that materialize? How does that happen?
The way it is working, you got to understand different part of the Keshe Foundation works differently, and many knowledge seekers who are working day and night for different arms of our work. And when we make such an offer, it brings a change in the dimension of the work. It brings changes in the dimension of now nuclear material is available to everyone. What's next? I have a big discussion with Iranian officials about this. As you know, there's a meeting going on with the present negotiation between Iran and US, and the Iranian government refuses me flatly to be part of the negotiation team, because I know the reason. They're correct in a way. And they say, you're not there. We don't want you to be in the negotiation, because we know where it's going to go, and will not bring what you want and what's not bring what we want. And what do you do? I have to abide by the rules of the world leaders and the decision makers. But we can barge in and we can put things on the table and show the things and change the whole thing, but it will not change things. Man has to change in the grain of itself. And at the moment, we have a couple of families who want to make a lot of money. And most of these conflicts goes back to the religions, and then they're using the religion to get to what they want, but they're going to lose everything. Rothschilds have lost a huge part of their finances in the past few weeks. I understand. The people the few families who support the grain, especially we're using in America, they're in a big problems. The grain families have now run into a big problem. They used to control it through Ukraine, they lost most of it, and they used to work through America, they lost most of it. The grain families, the 5 grain families of the world, are in a huge financial problem. It was especially what happened with 3 or 4 countries just dumping the American grains and corns and everything into the ocean, refusing to accept it. They're 100% perfect and everything else with tariffs, has put a lot of pressure on the grain families. A couple of them are in a virtual verge of bankruptcy, even the richest families in the world. Ukraine, they lost, and now they lost the mines in Ukraine. Everything has gone very bad for the globalists, and they have no job except pushing for the war, trying to get back, but at the moment change has come through themselves. They seeded it, but they lost control of the seeding. We'll see the change, and nuclear materials and everything else is on the table anybody wants to take, but at the moment everybody is waiting to see what happens with the situation in the Middle East with Iran and Israel, and then what will be next. We're taking Netanyahu and his team again to the, what do you call it, to the court. Especially American administration will be taken to the court, and we'll see the outcome. If you know there is a nuclear site, if you know there's a nuclear material, is a genocide to bomb it. And it's illegal. You will see the world leaders who made such a decision will answer to the court. It does not matter if they accept the condition of the court or not. But if you know it's against the human rights, against the United Nations rights, and it's agreed, if you know a nuclear site, you cannot bomb it because you know you create a mass genocide. And it's happened. And you've seen the European Union has turned back the excuse of Gaza against these operations. And the European governments have started banning a lot of these people into Europe. Slovenia last week arrested 2 of the cabinet ministers of Israel in Slovenia for genocide. They were arrested, and in the background they were given to be free, and they escaped out of the country. They don't find it easy to be outside. And offering nuclear material is for everyone to benefit by, because it has a lot of benefit, nuclear material, in the advancement of technologies. If you understand the potential of mixing matter, energy, and radiation, and especially cosmic radiation together, to make the present computers and communication and transportation system obsolete within minutes. And that's where the next step comes in. That's where the next challenge is, and the fear of what the Americans will do is gone out of it. They've seen with the Japanese. Japanese overnight stopped a single car going to the United States, and they blocked. They didn't do anything. They didn't shut them out. They just diverted the cars. And America doesn't have material to build the cars, and the Chinese, and you'll see the automotive in America will collapse in one way or another. And then there comes the new technologies has to emerge. And maybe if we carry on the same as it is, I think US will be a third world nation in the next 5 years. They have, but they don't have the manufacturing and the processing and the financial backing to set up these manufacturers. And it takes time. And technology has advanced so much that it makes other things obsolete. If you look at the communication system in China, His Excellency President Xi has a huge insight into this. Americans came up with AVAX, and they're very happy they're doing it. Chinese have put so many satellites above that made AWACS obsolete. If you're not within the banner of space you cover under the aircraft, now you cover the whole satellite 100 times better than AWACS. And if you can do that, and you can come to the region with the Chinese and embed your plasma technology in, as we show you today, how we can touch the physicality and the thing, we can feed the man while the satellite is running, change the man, stop the wars. But this needs understanding of the nuclear radiation, plasma technology, and everything else to be able to do it. You embed it in the satellite, but you don't damage the satellite itself because it's vulnerable to it, or you change everything into the dimension of cosmic rays, even as a structure. It's a lot to come. There's a lot of knowledge that need to be thought and systems to be developed. And radiation is part of it. Otherwise, you have no evolution. You get stuck with the same CO2s and the same materials you're used to, and the same gold and silver and copper, and you're stuck. Nuclear materials, nuclear radiation, cosmic radiation is essential for the advancement of the science and technology next. Then if you go that way, you don't need to feed the man, you touch the soul of the man feeds itself. And this is what, if you want to teach for past 10 years, we always taught. If you feed the soul of the man, you feed the physicality, and you've seen it today on the graphs last week and this week. You don't need to go and shout to your brother or your wife, husband, do this, do that. With a wish, with the soul energy, they do it, for instance, like what we had. He moved out. What caused it? The soul decide. This is what's the correct way, and this is how it's going. Other question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Amazing answers. Thank you very much. And I'd just like to congratulate you and Rick and all the knowledge seekers for 600 knowledge seekers workshops and all that dedication and all that that knowledge you've shared. Really, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for being there. You supported us very much solid. Appreciate all your support.
Always will do, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Very much. Thank you very much. I would like to share with you your latest image, and you see how the soul of physicality is feeding your soul, and how everything has changed. Now we change the system inside. Let me get back into Zoom, and I share it. This is beautiful if you, that's not say if you understand it, your knowledge seekers understand it. And once one understands the implication of this, it is huge. And now you see how we can feed, and you see the line.
Recording in progress.
Sorry about this. Every time I connect to a Zoom, you get this. Watch what's happening now. This is you since the change. What you call it, since the break. Now you see how beautifully, your solar physicality is feeding you. You see before, there's nothing more or less here. You see how it's fed. It's amazing. Now, we fed the soul before in the first session. In the past, the soul has learned how to do it. Now you see what I call the soul of physicality You see, just watch it. It comes and it feeds itself. Wonder how you lot who are listening will change. There is nothing expanded. You see, there is nothing. The line of the feed to the soul is still there from the past. If you remember the pictures of the past, you see the line is still there. But the soul has had that apple. Now he knows where to get it from. And you see it. This is a confirmation of correctness of the technology. We understand how to implement it. And what will be interesting to see how this feature, in a way, changes tomorrow with your knowledge. You clearly see those of who are with us in this teaching, how you're getting fed. If you remember from even the early session, we had this thing like this here. Now you see it has changed to this. It's found its home, which always is with the physicality, soul of physicality and soul. We touched you and we are in you. Scientifically, the correct way. And this line of connection is absolutely vital to confirm. There is no feeding direct from the soul or environment of the soul. The soul of physicality has locked itself into the what we call the universal energy, feeds itself, and it feeds the soul to the physicality. Now you see a radical. This is absolutely beautiful when you see it. Concentrated, direct line. There is no deviation. We set it up to be this way. It's not accidental. We have set, loaded, positioned our system to achieve this.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. That I have to try and understand what you show sometimes. You speak of it, but the soul there is feeding. You're saying it's directly connected to the universal, energies now, but it's not showing there physically on the graph. So how would I?
It's there. If you see it, because it's not the knowledge. If you see it, if I open it, you see there's a line of connection here. Always has been there. Since we set up a feeding line, we set up a new structure.
Mm-hmm.
This has always been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This line always has been here. This is a central line. You see it somewhere here. And then you see the soul, always, if you remember, I showed you earlier on, the soul sits here. And you see all the dots here usually. And then last week, if you remember, there's a very bright light. Because last week we set up to feed the soul. And there's a lot of interaction. This week, we made a very small change. And we changed the position change. And this is what our target was. And we achieved what we set up. So As I told you, we are the only organization in the world which you knowledge seekers pay us to use you to testimony. Any other question?
Again, thank you, Mr. Keshe.
I hope you can speak to people in England after 10 o'clock. Don't put them in prison. Make sure you don't call anybody in England after 10 on the street.
I haven't heard this, Mr. Keshe. So this is a new law that's coming out. I don't know about it. I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, the new law, which is coming from January the 1st in UK, after 10 o'clock, you cannot speak on the street with your mobile phone or be on the social media. It has a £90 fines. And you cannot use your mobile phone as satellite from January of this year, or use it to navigate if you're driving a car. It gives you 6 points on the driving license and 200 penalties. Because I say a lot of accidents created by people trying to find an address on their mobile phone or sat-nav. They have the mobile unit. You cannot use them unless it's built in the car. After January of this year, you cannot use them. It means only rich people can drive with navigation. We're going back to you remember we had the maps? We're going back to the map time.
Yeah, it's just the control system sometimes there's so much control and they keep adding layers and layers and layers to
The
it.
new government is a Jewish
just
government.
it's crazy.
Your Prime Minister of England is a Jewish background. He's one of those few Jews who become the Prime Minister. And you have new regulations from, I think, is it from today or whatever, from 1st of August. If you draw 3 times more than £100 from your account, and you do that 3 times, they close your account. You can't have a bank account anymore. And from, I think it's 1st of August, September, or maybe 2026, if you buy anything more than £1,000 using your bank account or your card, they have to report to Central Bank of England. You cannot shop anymore without the government knowing. They brought in very draconian rules into UK, which has become operational. I don't know if any of you knows what happened last Saturday, July the 19th. They had from July the 19th, United Kingdom, United States, Australia, and I think there's another 10 or 15 countries have given all the rights of the health above national health, above the Ministry of Health, to WHO, which Bill Gates pushed during the corona. From 19th of July, which passed last week, no government has any say if the WHO orders closure of the borders. They have to close the borders. They can create a fake virus and close the whole world economy. It will be done. They had 10 months to appeal against it. No government appealed against it. They signed themselves into it. So what we call the lockdown now can be ordered by WHO. Mr. Bill Gates, with his crony head of WHO, has brought this in and nobody knows. Number of European countries are included in it. If they decide today is a virus somewhere and nobody sees it, we decided you close your borders have to close. It's become effective. It's now in part of the rules. The government signed into it in the corona.
But Mr. Keshe, surely though that this is going to cause more mayhem, because when certain
This is the whole plan.
Yeah, of course it is. We know this. We know this. Yeah.
Yeah. The smallest nation in this world will not be touched and affected because they built it. The smallest nation has very few hundred citizens, and the second smallest nation behind it, which is them again, has that with the right to all the passports. Vatican is the only nation on this planet, or less than a square kilometer, with I think about 200 or 300 people carry Vatican passports, and the Knights of Malta carry the Maltese Knights of Malta passports, which are not affected by any of this. They can go anywhere, anytime, go anything. It's a diplomatic passport, green card. And they make these rules for the rest.
On a soul level, Mr. Keshe, so this will, you know that this will create a condition where the souls will reject this, and then the physicalities will start to take a position, a different position. There's always a balance. So the more that you force these conditions, the more that you get a balance the other side. You teach this, and we've all experienced this. So it doesn't, the more they do it, the more it will turn in a different way. I've noticed this with plasma, that if you create a condition and it's not in the right way, it always finds another way, another avenue. It opens itself more and more to allow for other creations to happen that bypass what you've done. It never, it won't, doesn't matter how many times they put these things, these barriers in place, it just, the soul will find a way.
I want to teach you something, and I think it's important for knowledge seekers to understand the world of politics. We got nothing to do with politics. We're extremely scientific organizations. Let me see, something came in from the research center. They want me to look at the picture. Okay, I want to teach you something which you will understand. Sure, you will understand very well. But they say history repeats itself. In 1980s, they brought a new pope, the Polish pope. You know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the opening of the Eastern Bloc, if you remember. He was set to bring the change and end of the communism in Europe and the rest of it. Then they elected a German pope, which the German pope emptied the Vatican from all his assets into Berlin and the rest of it. And we know what happened to the rest of the whole structure and how the economies and the world program changed. Now we have an American pope. Now you see why America is getting destroyed. Internally, what we saw with the 13, what we call states of Russia, now we see how Vatican is organizing the collapse of American structure. All these things you see is set up, is there, is repetition of the same. You wondered why we have an American Pope? You see what the other popes, when they came into power, they've done. They always changed. The German Pope literally destroyed the Vatican from inside by emptying all the golds and the reserves. They brought a lot of provisions now for it not to happen again, but it's too late. So they are trying to recuperate what the German Pope took to Berlin Central Bank by creating new wars, new things, and the African, bishops moved independently, that no more gold comes to Europe unless it's processed, that the full value paid for because they're not paying them back. So you saw the changes uprising in African nations now refining gold themselves, not selling there for pennies, but they're selling it at full value and brings them real prosperity. This is going to be changed with the American Pope. And you will see this. You start seeing the splitting of centralization of the American states, dividing gradually or separate autonomies, like what do you call it, California, Florida, and the richest one, they'll move out in separate ways if it goes further. And with this tariff business, is part of their work. The American Pope is sitting there to make sure this monopoly of this state is finished, then the Vatican can rule. This started the problem in Israel and everything else. This is all part of the bigger plan, and we've seen it repeating itself. If you look at 1980s, how Mr. John brought all the changes, breakup of the, we remember the Valenza guy, the miner who became, now the same thing as in a bigger state, bigger scale by the White House. And the American Pope is there to see it going through. We see the repeat of the history again and again. And they were planning in early 2000, end of 2000 and last decade, to bring Archbishop for China to start the same process to split China. But China became warned off. They took steps. We saw the riots in Hong Kong. It was part of the plan when the new first time a bishop appointed for China. That was part of the bigger plan to break up the Chinese structure, the same as communism. It didn't happen. The Chinese became aware of it before they do. They got those who were there. That's why they all moved to Hong Kong. We saw the riots in Hong Kong. It was organized by Vatican. And now we see the split of United States. But how they split it is very interesting. How it will come, or separation of division, because more unemployment, less food, higher rates will bring the internal division of the states wanting to separate to do one themselves. And California most probably had it because they need the Mexicans, and the central government doesn't come. They'll announce independence and become a separate country, which has become the 8th largest economy in the world. It's just coming up. So then you can see what is about to happen. The Chinese went through it. They survived it. 2 years, 3 years, they had a harsh, and partially what helped them in a way set up was Corona. By Corona, they had an excuse to get people off the streets. It was a man-made gift for them. They made it themselves to get rid of what was Vatican setting up for them. A lot of people are not aware of what they say. Things came out of China. It was the only way to stop the changes, appointment of a new archbishop to China to start this revolution. Now you understand what is about to come. And there's a fight of the rich trying to hold on to the old status quo, and it's not going to happen. Any other question? Who's this one?
Sorry. We got a number of questions here from our chat, or not questions so much as comments, as you were asking for people's comments. We have one that's interesting from the Spanish community, from KS, who says they listened to the 598th Knowledge Seekers workshop, even though they were Spanish and couldn't understand the English, and could only get the translation a few days later in Spanish. And then their experience of it is, they say, you know, now that I think about it with your explanation, I did experience changes that day. And for several days afterward, my emotion was very collective, of universal unity. And I imagine transmutation. That video I shared above even appeared but seems the concepts are a little clearer in my head. That is, I understand better what and how to transmute. I even said to myself, I am understanding more, or is it just my nerves? Haha. I wish the same for my knowledge seeker colleagues. I hug you all. Meanwhile, Wolfgang says, my body is in a mixed position of wanting food and also wanting less food. Is kind of a soft fight, recovering from a vaccination I got over 50 years ago as a child, which got activated by whatever reason 4 weeks ago. I feel mostly relaxed, getting more and more inner clarity and so-called enlightenment moments. Already I feel a bit tired. I suppose it's also due to the changes. Best thanks. I'm looking forward and very confident to the change to harmony and peace and transmutation. And Philippe says, I felt the addiction thing, medical fields sessions. I either felt bad when I did it, like a bad stomach, or I didn't feel the effects of that drug, like it had no effect. Thanks, Mehran and Keshe Foundation. Ramira, through Rafael in the Brazilian community. Good morning. I felt a huge change in energy and disposition. I feel calm inside and talk less during the day, listening more attentively to what others say. We are very grateful for your teachings, Mr. Keshe, and also to Raphael, who translates this knowledge for us. UC Host 1 says, I sleep less now. When I go to bed, I actually talk to my soul to transmute where I can go to help or let it decide where to go. I still have the same energy during the day. My husband says he's less hungry. From Nick, who says, I've noticed since last week's teaching, seeing the graph, it came to my thoughts and wishes. When we make a wish from the soul, it brings on a soul level the right souls of the right strength closer to you to manifest this wish. But if you also ground the wish to Mother Earth after wishing it like a cord going down to Mother Earth from the soul of physicality deep into Mother Earth, it's like planting that wish like a seed in the earth. I will give it much more strength to manifest on the material world also. From Peter says, good morning, Mr. Keshe. I am enlightened through the joy of receiving knowledge. Firstly, I am sorry for asking questions in the past, which could bring fear and emotion that humanity has already plenty of and is not the way to elevation. I respect and work to the path of elevation for humanity and will never endanger the universal messenger's mission to free humanity's physical bondage in any shape or form again. I hope you can forgive my folly, Mr. Keshe. Yours sincerely, Peter Wythe.
Shall we call it a day?
Okay, we probably go on, yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow, join us, those of you who are in the sessions at 12 o'clock. And we run a session for what we call 3 or 4 hours, or 2 or 3 hours, depends. You can tomorrow leave anytime you like. This will be very intense, and you don't need to stay. If you within 10 minutes feel you have achieved what you came in for, or you feel there is a change that you want to go, don't stay. And if you go out and you feel you want to come back in again, And if the session is going on, come back in. Tomorrow is very emotional touch that triggers the transmutation, as I explained today. How you feel it, how you go through it, if you have the, if you received your, what do you call, cosmic ray balls, use them, enjoy them, move them around. When you got it in your hand, put it in your hands and hold your head, hold your leg, change the parameters and see how it feels. And anything else you have. We have sent all the cosmic ray balls which has been placed order. Even the we had the opportunity to literally fulfill the last minute orders which came from different countries. They're on the way. They should be with you or you receive them. There's nothing outstanding. And register for next 3 months, because we might close as we bring some other things into it due to expansion of the technology. What I would like to ask knowledge seekers, we still need huge financial support for daily running of the foundation, as we're concentrating on research and development and other things. If you can help us in any shape or form. We haven't sorted out that position with Mark Ray. We're still struggling with it in one way or another to get it sorted. And I hope we can achieve that. And I'd like to thank all the knowledge seekers in the background who are doing a lot of work in the work for the foundation. All the best. And we are there in every shape or form to support. Thank you very much for today. And we'll say goodbye. And hopefully we meet tomorrow and we meet next week. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Wow, okay. Thanks everyone for being here today for the 600th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 24th, 2025. As Mr. Keshe said, we'll be back again next week, same time and place. Well, it'll be a different time, actually. Might be a different place too, but you know what I mean. And our next public teaching workshop, let me see when the date will be for that, will be our One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace. And that'll be on July 29th, Tuesday, July 29th, starting at the 4 p.m. Central European Summer Time. And that's with members and support members of the Universal Council, who invite members of the public to please please participate. I'm reminded to change my screen here, so you see where the sharing is. Somehow it switched. Very interesting. Okay, thank you, Doug. And again, thank you everybody for attending today's workshop, and we'll see you in the next public teaching workshop perhaps. And bye for now. We'll go out with our usual musical ending. And thanks once again to Mr. Keshe especially, and to the others that are supporting the Keshe Foundation and the whole process. Bye, everyone.